back. On today's video, I wanted to go over a software program that I use very frequently on my computer called Advanced System Care. And let's jump right in. So Advanced System Care, and we're currently at version 18, is a software that goes through your computer system and deletes all of the cookies that are unnecessary. It speeds up your programs, checks for a lot of things like if you have outdated software, if you have other issues, if you have registry issues in Windows. And I've been using it for a number of years. I find that it works very well to clean my computer, to speed it up when it gets a little bogged down. And it also helps keep the RAM updated so you don't get a bunch of junk just stuck in your RAM as your computer's operating. So if you find that your computer is laggy, if you find that it is just not performing as well as it used to, this is something that I recommend downloading. Now, they do have a free version. You'll see that I'm using the Pro version. The free version is great. It works fine. I used that for probably a decade and finally did upgrade to the Pro version once they ran a special that was almost too hard to beat. The Pro version also comes with a driver booster. That was actually the one that I bought. I bought driver booster and I got Pro for free. And I found that it has some extra features. Will I buy it again? I'm not sure. Depends on how I feel at the end of the year. But let's go through a couple of different things. So this is the main screen of Advanced System Care. You can come in here, you can click Scan. You can see you've got an AI mode, which does everything for you, or you've got a manual mode, which allows you to come in here and click on different settings. Now, the only real setting that I will change is under Privacy Sweep. And when you click on the settings, the reason that I like to make some changes here is I don't want it to clear out my saved passwords. I may want some saved form information to stick around, but I do want to get rid of different types of things. So, for example, in Internet Explorer, for some reason cookies was unchecked. I do want most of the cookies to be gone, but I don't want my saved passwords to be cleared out if I'm using Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, whatever it may be. So these are just different things. You can come in here, check on spyware removal, and you can have it skip certain files. The reason this is usually set to 10 megabits on the skip files is because a spyware is not usually going to be that large. You can, of course, change that setting to anything that you want, and you can remove threats from recycle bin, which I do want to do. I don't really want them sticking around in the recycle bin where they may accidentally be opened. And enable full protection, you'll see that is a Pro option. Registry clean, it'll talk about different files. I'm not going to go through all of these because most users are not that knowledgeable. No offense intended on that, but just most people don't necessarily know all of that. And this video would be very, very, very long if we did go through all of those. Auto RAM clean is kind of cool, where it actually will release different pieces or different information that's stuck in your RAM. For those who don't know, this is just a quick tidbit. You have long-term memory and short-term memory on it, and the RAM is the random access memory. That is the short-term memory that's usually a little bit smaller, but it's faster to access, and it's temporary, but unfortunately stuff that does get stuck in there. And you can see that this frequently is releasing memory from your RAM, and that will speed up your computer's performance. So what the other things you can do is you can click on speed up, and it'll talk about different things on your computer that you're able to change. You can turn turbo boost on or off. This can actually cause some issues with people's computers, so I wouldn't necessarily use it unless you need to, but you can experiment with it. Startup optimizer, there's a lot of different things that go into your startup programs, and if you don't want them to do it, you can click on optimize and come in here and see what exactly is in your startup items. You can see your quick optimization. You can see what items are starting up as Windows starts up. You can see the services that are running behind the scenes. You can enable or disable those. The cool thing here is it gives you a disable rate. And this shows what percentage of Advanced System Care users are disabling this. And you can select based on that information, or of course you can Google it and see if that's something that you want to remove. Scheduled tasks, these are tasks that are set by softwares on your computer to run at different times, and you can disable those. And again, you have that disable rate button, and you have browser extensions. And if you have a lot of browser extensions, you may want to go through here and disable them. You can see that I actually don't have any currently running. I'm not a huge fan of browser extensions typically. Hardware accelerator helps your computer speed up again. It manages with the drivers with driver booster. Driver booster is another one of their softwares. And you have a bunch of different options you can come in and see. It's a pretty cool product there. Protect, you can see that you have different types of protections. You can have your antivirus and spyware. It tells you if those are active or not. It tells you if your privacy protection is on or off. You have browser protection, security and repair tools, and then the software updater is a pretty cool one. In older versions, I didn't find it to work very well, but now it actually does seem to work quite well. And you can see that currently it's showing all of these different softwares are up to date. Now, this is not all the software I have on my computer, but these are all the ones that it is monitoring. And then under Action Center, this is basically a sales platform where they can tell you you need to buy. So generally, most users can come in here and use the AI mode and be just fine. If you want to use the manual mode, that will work. You come here and click this big blue button and it starts to run. So what it'll do is it goes through and it scans all of the different files in your system. It will scan for privacy issues. Right now it's scanning for junk files, and it'll give me an option to delete those. You can see it's popping up the file names right there as it goes through. The registry entries, these are different programs that have been registered with Windows, and when you delete them, sometimes those programs do not come out. So this is checking for all the registry entries, making sure that everything's accurate, so that when a software calls for something in the Windows registry, it's basically saying, hey, what's going on in the a table of contents type thing, or what's another analogy would be some like a directory saying this is the program, here's where you go, here's where the files are located. If it's inaccurate, then it has to go to that, and the program will not be able to open. It may say, well, we can't find that software. If you ever had that happen, this is scanning for the registry entries to find old ones, to find inaccurate ones, figure out what's happening and where inaccuracies are. Internet improvements, you can see I just found one internet improvement, different issues there. Registry fragments, this is going through for little pieces of code that may have gone into the Windows registry that are not necessary anymore. Disk optimization is usually not going to pick up on those unless you do a deep dive. But the way a disk works is it's storing everything. Imagine a store shelf where you have different boxes and you go through and it's putting everything in order. And when a lot of people come through, imagine when there's a storm or a hurricane or something in your local grocery store, the shelves are not stocked very efficiently. Well, your hard drive gets like that as well, where your hard drive will have things stored and then you'll delete something and it doesn't automatically compact it. So your hard drive will not be running very efficiently. It has to go search all these different sectors and try to find what's going on. So that's what the disk optimization will do. But most of the times this is not doing a deep dive. So occasionally you'll want to do a deep dive on your disk optimization or on your own on your computer to make sure that your disks are running the best that they can. Antivirus, we all pretty much know about that. A firewall is checking to make sure that people cannot access your computer from the internet. Outdated drivers is checking to see if everything's up to date. Outdated software, same thing. And you're seeing it's actually finding items here. Spyware threats, it'll go through your computer and you can set different levels of depth on that to see how deep it wants to go. The more in depth it goes, the longer it takes. System weaknesses is finding just different issues that may be in your system where you haven't updated your Windows. I find that a lot of people don't even know that they are supposed to update Windows, unfortunately, and they don't. And then security holes, it's finding if there's some holes in your software or issues that are major that need to be checked, and it'll give you a little eye like that to tell you that something needs to be changed. Disk errors will tell you if there's a problem with your disk, and then it comes up and gives you this final item that says I've got 6.8 gigabytes of file that need to be deleted or can be deleted to clear up disk space, 617 items that would improve my PC's performance, and 7 items that would be for security. What I can do now is I can come down here and click Fix, and it's going through and doing all of the items. Sometimes it'll tell you specific action items that need to be done, but you can see it runs pretty quick on most of these softwares, especially if you run it frequently. If you don't run this for very long at all, you will not. It will take much, much longer. You can see on my outdated software, it is moving a little bit slow. We're at 10% currently, so it's probably going to take here a couple of minutes, and it's going to go out to the internet. It's going to download those drivers from a trusted website, usually a repository that's either from the software manufacturer or from a computer repository that is trusted. So it's not going to go out to a torrent site or anything like that and download something that would harm your computer. Once that's updated, it's going to go through the system weaknesses. It may make us or tell us that we need to restart the computer once we're done. It really just depends on what it finds and what the updates are and the other programs that I have open currently. Because yes, that will affect whether your computer can just update itself or whether it needs to be restarted. Sometimes if you have especially a Windows product, if you have a Windows product open and it's not able to update the underlying code, if you can't shut that down like Outlook or Word or just Windows itself, if it can't shut the program down because of other things that are running, you do have to restart your computer. So I'm going to hit pause. I will come back as soon as this is done and we'll go from there. Okay, so now we're at 99% finished. It should wrap up here in just a second. It's finishing up updating software. I had a couple of pop-ups come up that said it was updating things like, I'll actually show you here, Windows Notepad. So we're going to go ahead and hit update that. So make sure you're watching the other screens as they come up. Otherwise, it will take a lot longer than what you're expecting. This did just close Windows Notepad that I had up and I was taking notes on it, so be aware it will do some of that. It will close some of the programs as you say update. Fortunately, Windows Notepad is supposed to save everything before it closes automatically, which of course I will find out here in a second. So that's something to keep an eye on. When you're updating software, make sure that you are watching what's going on, and we'll be back when it finishes. So the process finished. We're now at 100% completed. It tells us that they cleaned up 23.4 megabytes of disk space, 617 items were optimized, 7 items were fixed. Now this number here sometimes won't match up with what it had shown it was able to be cleaned, and that just depends on what it found as it was going through and fixing everything. It does tell me still I have a system weakness, and if I click over here I can see exactly what that is, and it tells me it lets websites provide locally relevant content. This is an advertising thing that if you ever watch Google, the way they advertise it will track you. You can block that, but it can, in my case, I just don't do it. Let Windows track app launches. That you can disable that, but it does also affect how Windows operates, and show me suggested content in the settings sites. It allows you to discover new features within settings. I currently have it enabled, and it's recommending that I move it to disabled. I'm currently okay with all of these just because of what how I feel it's going to work, so I'm not worried about it, but you can come in and you can make these changes. It's pretty cool. You can see that it also got rid of the junk files, and it shows you the junk files that it did get rid of. In this case, it shows me I've got 4.5 gigabytes of stuff that did not get deleted, so I'm going to check that and hit finished and see, nope, it won't actually go through and do it, so I'm going to have to go through and do it manually. Anyway, there's a lot of different features to this program. I highly recommend that you use it. It's something I've been using for a long time, and it makes even older computers run a lot faster than if you just kind of let them go. So this is one of the maintenance items I do recommend for computers. If you have any questions on this, put them down in the comments below. If this video has been helpful to you, please do give us a like. If you'd like to see more content like this and a whole bunch of other topics, do subscribe to the channel. And if you know someone this may benefit, please consider sharing. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.